This is BRICS Global Television Network's Daily Roundup. We begin with the headlines. China seeks solutions for war in Ukraine. Indian opposition parties take jibes at one another. And it's a big sporting weekend ahead in Saudi Arabia. Hello, I'm Juliet Newell. Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to China is proving to be a success. Talks with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping revolve around several issues, including trade relations and the Ukraine war. China is under increasing pressure from the United States over its relationship with Moscow. The US accuses China of helping Russia obtain sanctioned goods and has threatened Chinese banks with secondary sanctions. This has resulted in banks scrutinizing transactions between the two countries, slowing down the process and in some cases halting transactions altogether. Chinese exports to Russia have slowed down as a result. But Putin claims bilateral trade conducted in rubles and yuan have exceeded 90% and continue to grow despite threats from the West. The Russian president is also committed to strengthening banks and payment institutions' relationships and cooperation. On the Ukraine matter, Putin says he's grateful to Beijing for efforts being made to find a solution to the war. Moscow says it remains open to talks with Ukraine to end the war, but there are a number of conditions. And these include that Kyiv must accept the situation on the ground, namely Russia's claim that it's annexed the Donetsk, Kherson, Zaporizhia and Lugansk regions. China positions itself as a neutral party in the conflict. In India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has come under fire for allegedly making anti-Muslim comments during election campaigning. India's main opposition, the Indian National Congress, is accusing Modi of heightening concerns over sectarian tensions in the country. India started voting last month in an election that'll span 6 weeks in total. Balloting ends on June the 1st and results are due to be announced on the 4th of June. While on the campaign trail, Modi's reportedly used the country's religious divide as a tool to drum up support, referring to Muslims as infiltrators, and he's accused the Congress party of planning to redistribute the country's wealth to Muslims if it won. Modi's been accused of playing his usual game of dividing Hindus and Muslims. The Prime Minister's reportedly championed Hinduism, garnering much popularity, but in a country where just 200 million plus citizens are Muslim, this minority group is left feeling uneasy and anxious about what the future holds for them. Modi has, however, denied stoking religious tensions. He says, "The day I start talking about Hindu-Muslim divisions will be the day I lose my ability to lead a public life." He suggests the Congress is trying to rally Muslims to vote against him. And with 2 weeks left of balloting, with almost 1 billion people eligible to vote, opposition parties contesting the elections continue to take jibes at one another. It's up to the country's Electoral Commission to investigate claims made and announce any sanctions if any wrongdoings have been uncovered. BGTN India correspondent Venkat Narayan reports.
Election results are out on 4th of June. Incumbent Prime Minister Narendra Modi is fighting to procure a third consecutive 5-year term in office. Main opposition Congress party has joined hands with 20 others to stop Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party from winning this election. However, opinion polls suggest that the BJP is coming back to power with an impressive majority. Yes, Venkat Narayan for BGTN, reporting from New Delhi, India.
Has the British government shot itself in the foot by seeking to reduce the number of students entering the country to study? Well, according to a government-commissioned report into why foreign registrations for the next year have dropped, restricting international student numbers could result in some universities closing. To find out more, our BGTN UK correspondent Hayley Bentley joins me now. Hello, Hayley. Why did Rishi Sunak's government want to cut back on the number of international students in the first place?
Hi, Juliet. So immigration is a major concern for the UK government, and the issue of high levels of legal migration has been a major topic in British politics discourse for a long time. This is one of the main reasons for the Brexit referendum back in 2016. Now, in response, Rishi Sunak's government has been working to reduce the number of foreign students coming to Britain, and this does include postgraduate students being allowed to bring their family members to the country. Now, the government initiated a review due to concerns that the visa route was being exploited, with some British politicians raising concern that some students are applying for visas and then claiming asylum or overstaying.
Is there any truth to the claims that some universities have been selling immigration rather than education to international students?
Well, actually, this was an accusation that one of the ministers in Rishi Sunak's cabinet had made, and a government spokesperson said that concerns about the scheme were being raised, and they were mainly centered around the fact that more than 40% of international students using the route were either not working or were earning below £15,000 a year after they graduate. Now, the Migration Advisory Committee, which is an independent body which gives advice to the government, they've said that they found no evidence whatsoever about widespread abuse specifically from the graduate scheme, and they've stated that British universities remain one of the country's biggest export successes.
Why have foreign registrations for next year plummeted?
Well, the Migration Advisory Committee, they've reported that the number of international postgraduate students paying deposits to study at British universities from September has dropped by 63% compared with the previous year. And this decline came after the government imposed restrictions on education visas. Now, the report warned that further restrictions on the graduate route, which allows foreign students to work in Britain for up to 2 years after they graduate, would lead to job losses, course closures, and a risk that some educational institutions could fail.
What's the next step for Sunak's government?
Well, a spokesperson for Sunak has said that the government would consider the report and respond. However, British business leaders from across the spectrum are urging the government to reconsider its stance, and they argue that welcoming foreign students to come study at British universities has a positive effect on the country by boosting innovation, fostering creativity, and serving as a form of soft power, as many world leaders around the world have studied at British universities.
Thank you. That was Hayley Bentley, BGTN UK correspondent. In Saudi Arabia, massive ancient stone structures known as mastodons have been unearthed in Saudi Arabia's northwestern deserts, challenging previous perceptions of the region's Stone Age history. Dating back approximately 7,000 years, these rectangular enclosures predate iconic landmarks such as the pyramids of Egypt and Stonehenge in Britain, possibly making them the earliest ritual landscape ever identified. Well, the significance of these findings extends beyond their age. Spread across an expansive area of 200,000 square kilometers with over 1,000 mastodons discovered so far, they indicate a remarkable level of communication and shared beliefs amongst Neolithic populations in the region. Constructed through the laborious efforts of moving thousands of tons of basalt stone, often involving the coordinated work of dozens of individuals over extended periods. These structures contain pillars, standing stones, and smaller rock-walled cells. Excavations at the sites have uncovered animal remains, predominantly cattle bones, suggesting that the mastodons were part of an ancient cattle cult that revered these animals, integral to the subsistence of Neolithic communities in the region. Alongside the mastodons, another significant discovery includes a massive 4,000-year-old fortification enclosing the Khaybar Oasis, with walls stretching over 14 kilometers. Well, this ancient oasis fortress, likely constructed for military defense against nomadic raids and to mitigate the impact of flash floods, adds further layers to our understanding of the social complexity and interconnectedness of Neolithic populations in northwestern Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, in Egypt, new discoveries led scientists to believe they may have uncovered the mystery of how ancient Egyptians transported massive stone blocks to build pyramids. They've discovered a branch of the Nile River buried long ago that used to flow alongside more than 30 pyramids in the country. Studies reveal the 64-kilometer river branch used to run past the iconic Giza pyramid complex. It's only been discovered recently, as it's been hidden under desert and farmland for millennia. The discovery could explain why the pyramids were built in a chain along the desert strip in the Nile Valley around 4,000 years ago. These encompass the Great Pyramids of Giza, the sole remaining monument from the 7 wonders of the ancient world, alongside the Khafre, Cheops and Mykerinos pyramids. The river branch, which has been named Ahramat, the Arabic word for pyramids, was discovered and mapped out using radar satellite imagery, and subsequent surveys in the area, together with cores of sediment, confirm the presence of the river. Up next, BRICS Business.
Coming soon on BRICS Global Television.
This blind kid arrives. I get emotional. And he's special needs and he's blind. And they can't talk to him. So I grab him and I put him on the boxing bag and I put the gloves on and I illustrate to him, hit the bag. And just to see this child learn in 1 minute how to let his aggression go, and he loved it. And he was squealing because obviously he was mentally challenged and things like that. Just to see that, sure, was incredible.
In BRICS Business News, China just can't seem to get a break from the United States. Earlier this week, Washington announced increased tariffs on a raft of Chinese exports. It also warned China that the possibility of secondary sanctions on Chinese banks are possible should it be found that transactions with Russia are aiding the war on Ukraine. America has also raised concerns with China about what it has deemed the misuse of artificial intelligence. And now it's blocking imports from dozens of China-based textile companies, accusing the country of forced labor. There are 26 new additions to the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act entity list, 21 of which relate to the selling of cotton from the Xinjiang region on the wholesale market, whilst the other 5 procure cotton from the region. Beijing has been accused of incarcerating over 1 million Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities in a network of detention facilities in Xinjiang. Although officials strongly deny this, the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act prohibits the importation of any goods originating from Xinjiang unless companies can provide credible evidence demonstrating that forced labor was not involved in the production process. The act covers sectors including clothing, batteries and electronics. The US says it will continue to execute on our textile enforcement strategy and hold China accountable for their exploitation and abuse of the Uyghur people. The additions come into effect on Friday. Saudi Arabian state-owned oil giant Aramco says it expects to pay $31 billion in dividends to the Saudi government and shareholders. That's despite reporting lower earnings for the first quarter, hit by lower oil prices and smaller volumes sold. The Saudi government, which directly holds about 82.2% of Aramco, relies heavily on the company's payouts, which include royalties and taxes. The kingdom, the world's biggest oil exporter, is spending billions of dollars to diversify its economy away from crude. Reuters reports that it expects total dividends of $124.3 billion to be declared in 2024. Of those, $43.1 billion are in performance-linked dividends. The OPEC Plus oil group has implemented a series of output cuts since late 2022 amid rising output from the United States and other non-member producers, and worries over demand as major economies grapple with high interest rates. A projected budget deficit of just over $21 billion this year, the Kingdom could delay parts of its multiple mega projects. The Kingdom's 2030 Vision project would have to be adjusted as needed, with some projects being scaled back or extended and others accelerated amid a challenging environment. BRICS Sport is up next with Yolanda Pondo.
For many, dance in Africa is a rich cultural expression, serving various purposes like entertainment and religious rituals. However, over thousands of years, dance in Africa has been used as a secret way to communicate, sometimes during birth and death, frequently to each other, and at times directly to the gods.
It's a big sporting weekend in Saudi Arabia. On Saturday, Riyadh hosts the Fury vs Usyk undisputed heavyweight title fight at the Kingdom Arena. WBC champion Tyson Fury and unified title holder Alexander Usyk will fight it out, vying for the division's first undisputed king in 24 years. And in Saudi Pro League football news, Aba has 3 more games left to survive relegation. BGTN sports correspondent Ben Ricotso has more.
South Africa's most decorated coach, Pitso Jingles Musimani, is in Jeddah this weekend to help his Saudi outfit, Aba Football Club, to survive the relegation zone. Pitso is going up against Al Ahly Saudi at the King Abdullah City Stadium. With only 3 matches to go, and Pitso it's just 1 point above the relegation zone, he knows that he has to win this Saturday by whatever means. Ben Ricotso, BGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
And coming up, children with just months to live are given the chance to do something they've always wanted to do, thanks to Reach for a Dream for making those dreams a reality. Ray White joined one such dreamer at Gold Reef City. That's coming up in just a bit.
Well, here we have it. Time to turn things around. You caught the taxi and watched the money drain out of your account. Now we're going to pay you if you are lucky enough to catch our taxi. Small problem. You've got to know a few things about BRICS. No, not the stuff you build your house with. Welcome to the BRICS on Wheels show.
For those who may have just months to live, they very often have one big dream, something they hold close to their hearts. BGTN, in partnership with Reach for a Dream, visited Gold Reef City to realize the dream of 14-year-old Thapelo Radebe. It was a day of excitement, hoping to forget, and realizing his dream to take the big rides. BGTN's Ray White was there.
Reach for a Dream has been granting the wishes of youngsters for many years, and a special few are given a chance to do something that lies outside of their financial reach. Today is the choice of 14-year-old Thapelo Radebe, and he's chosen Gold Reef City. Thapelo is suffering from the life-threatening nephrotic syndrome, more commonly known as kidney failure.
So, are you ready? Do you think you're going to get wet? I think you're going to get wet. What happens if you've got to jump out? Shall we swim? No, no swimming allowed. Okay. I'm nervous. Can I sit next to you?
Okay.
We wasted no time and took to the rides, which began with a splash. For someone facing a life-threatening illness, Tapelo showed no fear, and the log ride was fun, but was just the start. What would life be without the unforgiving anaconda? Living your dream is one way to forget about a life-threatening disease. Youth does that. You feel invincible, like you're on top of the world.
At the anaconda because got it here na futhi got it too fast. Yeah. And people and they abantu got they scream like oh.
Did you scream? Did you go like wow?
No, I was like ah, holding the they felt like this. Oh.
And the fun and excitement continued for Tapelo, the Golden Loop, the Ferris wheel, and a small train ride. He even got to play drums with a miners band and played rock, paper, scissors between rides. But behind the scenes, his mom, Sizakele Khadebe, kept a watchful eye. Her concern came pouring out in a conversation later in the day.
Even now, I don't understand this loop. I'm still struggling, Gucci, like how I'm going, uksiza umdanam, how long is going to leave. So into ezinjalo zihlala zingicekela phansi, even if you can make a joke, angisakwazi nokuhleka because I digest kahle the sickness.
But Tapelo loves his mom and believes he can beat the disease because he has her by his side. It was then time for Tapelo to get what he really wanted. The latest PlayStation, courtesy of Reach for a Dream. For one day, this young boy forgot about the disease that is trying to kill him. For one day, total bliss and happiness.
And that's it for today. Check out our website and social media for updates.